Welcome to the Career Boost podcasts of the Medical Portfolio Hub. I'm your host, Ricardo Ladeiras Lopes. Today, I'm honored to welcome Professor Barbara Casadei, a renowned leader in cardiovascular medicine, combining excellence in clinical care, groundbreaking research, and transformative medical education. Professor Casadei has advanced care for atrial fibrillation through her pioneering bench-to-bedside research at Oxford. She was the first female president of the European Society of Cardiology, driving global improvements in heart health. Professor Casadei was recently appointed as the head of the National Heart and Lung Institute at the Imperial College. Join us as we explore her journey, insights, and advice for aspiring cardiologists and healthcare professionals. Barbara, thank you so much for accepting the invitation to this podcast.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Your career is nothing short of remarkable. Can you give us the highlight reel in just a few sentences?
For me, it's really been, my career has been driven by a set of decisions that have implied taking some risk. So first decision not to do a university close to where I lived, but to go to a college system university in Italy, and that gave me a completely different perspective. Although at the beginning it was leaving a comfort zone, right? And then I was tenure track very early, and then I took another risky decision, and that is to say, maybe it's not a good idea that I stay here all my career. It is better that I go and aim at something a bit more than that. And so I came to Oxford, where I was not tenured for some 20 years. But again, that really gave me an exposure to excellence and to fantastic colleagues in a way that I would have never had if I'd stayed where I was. And then I got a taste for the big picture, what you can do on a larger scale that is not your clinical work and your research. And so I started engaging with the European Society of Cardiology. That gave me that, again, against the advice of my colleagues, because, of course, your research of something suffers when you do something else. But again, then you acquire new skills. And now, again, another decision to move from a job where I was very comfortable into a different challenge. So I think challenges and risk-taking have been the pace, if you like, of my career.
Everyone has that. Absolutely. Everyone has that one person who left the mark. Who was your biggest inspiration, and how did they steer your journey?
Oh, I suppose my mother, actually. It wasn't another professor or something like that, or someone like that. One needs that kind of support when one takes risky decision from the support system that one has around oneself. And so your family, and in that case, my mother was always extremely encouraging, even when I felt very close to give up, because when I had a small daughter, everything became more difficult. And she always insisted that I should not give up, that I would get bored and all of that. But otherwise, professionally, I think one could be inspired by aspects of many people, but one should never, ever attempt to be someone else. The most important questions are the one we ask ourselves to ourselves. So I think it's a mistake to spend a very high time going around asking everybody, what should I be doing? One should decide oneself. It's a good moment of introspection that actually is more valuable than asking 100 people. My point of view, at least.
No career is smooth sailing. What hurdles tested you the most, and how did you overcome them?
Oh, yeah, that is certainly true. That is certainly true. I would say paternalism, prejudice, from if you are a woman in cardiology, you do experience that a lot in some countries more than in other countries. I mean, prejudice and paternalism are not exclusive of cardiology, but cardiology is not immune either. And so those, I think, have been the best. At the beginning, when I was young, I think I kept my head down and I tried not to let this influence me of the way I was feeling, So you always are to some extent in charge of your reactions. And my reaction was, don't let it get at you, carry on. And as I became more senior, I'm really trying to get rid of this, as much as I can to influence the culture of the place where I work and I'm responsible for in a direction that is against prejudice and paternalism.
The fight for gender equity in healthcare is ongoing. Do you feel the scales are balanced, or is there still a lot of work to be done?
I haven't got the first half of your question. Can you repeat it?
The gender equity and the gender disparities in medicine.
Equity. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes, as I said, it varies a lot by specialty and it varies geographically. Generally speaking, even in cardiology, there are more women in what are the less lucrative subspecialties. So even if the number in some places balance a little bit more than in the UK, for instance, where the percentage of consultant cardiologists, female consultant cardiologists, particularly low, is still biased by income, for example. And so there is still a lot of work to do, and a work that will have to be intentionally done. I don't believe for a second that because there are more female students, medical students, that the whole system will redress, because this has been going on for a very long time in the arts, and there are still only about 30% of the professors that are females. So, it has to be intentional. You need to want to change it. And it's possible to do so, but, neglect is not going to fix it.
Yeah. Medicine demands a sharp mind. How do you keep your critical thinking skills razor sharp in such a dynamic field?
I think that actually maintaining analytical skills is easier than maintaining your creative skills. I think it's much easier to disassemble a piece of work than actually produce a new original piece of work. And so I'm all in favor of focusing the teaching in honing creative skills, not just, tell me in the 20 ways in which you can destroy this paper, or something like that. It's not that difficult. You learn it quite easily. But to actually get your mind free of prejudice, to look with a fresh eye to what we need to do next, and also understand how to do it, which will never be perfect, but at least you're having a go, is the skill that we need to focus on, in my view.
Great leaders stand out for a reason. In your view, what's the one trait that truly defines them?
A leader is always a leader of people. And because of that, it needs to care for other people, first and foremost. It needs to be persuasive. It needs to work in the background and lead from the back, in my view, pushing people forward to find, create opportunities. So these, to me, are the great leaders. They're not those who are seeking the limelight themselves. They're quite the opposite.
Absolutely. And let's focus now on work-life balance. What's your go-to strategy for balancing it all while still excelling?
Yeah, my joking question to that is, well, balance. Yeah, the way that I've tried to do it has always been to change my job in a way that I love what I'm doing. So, I don't want to stay in a job that feels like a chore, a job, and therefore I need to have a life outside it to balance my discomfort of spending a certain number of hours at work. So I have changed my jobs. I've often written my job descriptions. I bought myself out in a way that I could do so. And I would recommend it because then, I think it was Confucius who said that, if you do something you like, you never work a minute in your life, because you are doing something that you enjoy, that is part of the general enjoyment of your life. So I would say that part of the advantage of taking those risks that I was mentioning at the beginning is precisely that you end up doing something you like and you don't feel you're working.
And if you could time travel, what wisdom would you share with your younger self just starting out in this field?
I would say, believe in your feelings. Trust your feelings. Part of what I was saying before, don't go around always asking what you should be feeling. Trust your feelings. Trust your instinct on what it is you think is good for you. How do you see yourself? Who do you want to be? And in reality, when and where do you find yourself comfortable and more likely to be successful? I think there are a lot of things that they tell you when you're younger, and some fits and some doesn't, and it becomes very confusing to know which is which. So I would say trust your feelings, have a bit of introspection, and don't panic. Anxiety is definitely a waste of time. And be a bit more assertive. Yeah, that's what I would tell myself. Yes.
Now about cardiology, it's always evolving. What game-changing trends or challenges do you see shaping its future?
Oh, massive challenges ahead. It is kind of interesting that at this time we've had a certain. People say that the number of trainees interested in research is decreasing overall. And I find it difficult actually because to understand that, because more than ever, with the speed at which we're going at the moment in terms of progress in science, it would be important to at least understand the alphabet of science. People need to know what big data are and how you deal with this. You need to know what a learning health system is and trying to implement it. Even if you say you don't want to do research, you need to have that mentality even in your clinical work if you really want to have a successful and fulfilling career yourself, and if you want to make sure you're doing the best for your patients. if you then are into new treatments and new management of patients, again, super important that you have a background in science, that you understand what gene editing is, that you understand what RNA interference is, and so many other things that will come very, very soon. So the idea that one can stay there with textbooks that have been written in the previous century, which is not so difficult to find, is now completely anachronistic. So I would definitely say, throw yourself. You really need to at least be able to sing the tune, if not writing the music.
Books can be life-changing. Which one left an unforgettable impression on you, and why should our listeners add it to their list?
Oh, there are many books I read every day before I go to bed. So I have a long list. Recently, what I have discussed with some friends in Oxford, a book that we have discussed has been Augustus by John Williams. John Williams is also the writer who wrote Stoner. He only wrote about 4 books, and 3 of these 4 are excellent. And Augustus, the youngest ever Roman emperor that, founded the Roman Empire and reigned until death, natural death. So an amazing feat through many difficulties. It is very important if you think, as you come at my age, what your legacy is going to be, right? And so you see him reflecting on this and looking at all the mistakes that one has made, the thing that the people that had to suffer as a result of his career, so to speak, in particular his daughter, and also thinking about Rome, and what Rome will be, and knowing that Rome will fall for sure, but that doesn't matter because the legacy carries on, because the barbarian that would occupy Rome would want to be Roman. So there are many ways in which we can influence the future. So that's why we should not hold on to our little empires too tightly, because I think that we need to evolve like everything else. And so this book makes this very, very clear. And I like that. It's a difficult concept to accept and explain, and he does it beautifully.
Thank you. We just come to the end. And so thank you so much, Professor Barbara Casadei, for sharing your invaluable insights and inspiring journey with us today. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to follow our podcasts for more incredible guests and practical advice. See you next time. Thank you, Barbara.